I'm going to go ahead and start. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm super excited for this presentation. I've worked with ReBiz for a long time, and we just formed our partnership, which is what we're going to chat about today. Just to kind of start to let you know who is invited to this webinar was both customers and prospects. So if you're really familiar with Shiftlab, you might hear some things that you already know. If you're already familiar with ReBiz, you might hear some additional things. So just bear with us, and we're kind of just going to go through a little high-level overview of who both companies are, how we're going to work together, and then show you how this will work in a demo. So to start, my name is Devin. I am the co-founder of Shiftlab and lead the product and customer support team. I spent a little bit of background on me is that I spent about 10 years in one of the largest Verizon resellers, where I saw that scheduling is a pain point, and a lot of scheduling tools just look like calendars and are really hard for both the manager and the leadership to be able to take a glance at a schedule and figure out if it's strategic or not in a lean wireless retail environment. So looking forward to kind of walking you through here today, and then I'll be your point of contact going forward. So just to kind of kick off from a Shiftlab perspective, what we want to do is help you schedule with the right data. We want you to really focus on maximizing sales and optimizing labor costs. We believe that if you're running a contest that was really important this weekend, that your best employees would work. So we take a specific approach to not only building a really good schedule for your sales and your traffic pattern, which we'll talk about today, but making sure that your top performers are in those top opportunity spots so that you can maximize each day and each week accordingly. From there, we bring in time clock data to essentially just align the organizational insights. So rather than someone in the back office maybe creating a spreadsheet every Thursday to tell you where overtime is so far this week, or who's clocked in late, or who's auto clocked out, Shiftlab does all of that, puts it into one centralized platform so that you can take action on those things before they become a part of the past. And then ultimately overlaying the truth. So, if someone stuck around, did they see a customer? If someone came in early, did they generate a sale? What's going on with, how the attendance is happening, and the follow through to the schedule is something that's very important to us. Essentially what we do is we bring in real-time point of sale data from your point of sale. We bring in real-time time and attendance data from your time clock or your point of sale. And now we're going to bring in traffic and employee conversion and gross profit per customer into Shiftlab as well. The second that you see it in your ReBiz portal, you'll also see it in Shiftlab, and it'll just be kind of, make us more of a one-stop shop and help us schedule to your customer patterns. Ultimately, what these three data sets do for us is they allow us to give you really specific performance reporting, not just on sales, but also on how your workforce is performing with some key metrics on overstaffed, understaffed, productivity per hour, overtime, all of those things. We help evaluate your employee performance trends. We forecast your business extremely accurate. So our goal is to stay above 95% accurate with our forecasts. So rather than you taking the PDF or the data directly from ReBiz that's just looking at the last few weeks, we're actually going to take that data and really make an accurate forecast, including Black Friday, Samsung launches, all of those things that have happened in history to make it as accurate as possible when your team is scheduling. We bring in conversion to stack rank your performance and your employee ranking, real-time alerts. And then one of the things we'll talk about today, which is our most utilized function, and I think the biggest driver of ROI, is how we automate schedules for your team versus them building them manually. So again, I've used ReBiz for probably 5 years now, or when I left my prior company. And ultimately, at a really high level, I'll explain this more from my perspective, is that there are traffic counters that are available. Companies can use different ones that track just groups of people walking through the door. The only company that I've ever seen actually look at who is coming in the door and filter out your employee that's taking smoke breaks, or your UPS driver, or even a district manager visiting. ReBiz is able to take the traffic data and evaluate based upon facial recognition who is actually coming into the stores, to not give you some, a really big number of traffic, but give you your exact traffic count in that store. What they also are able to do, because they have this AI and the ability to do facial recognition, is that they can actually map traffic to the employee. So while traditional traffic counting systems can tell you that your store saw 2,000 customers, ReBiz is able to tell you that this employee saw 300 of them and this employee saw 400 of them. So one of the very common things that we talk about is productivity per labor hour. And now you're able to see that this person saw 10 customers today and sold 3 phones and has a 30% conversion. And the other person saw 5 customers today and only sold 1 phone and has a 20% conversion. And ultimately, this comparison right here is just showing you that if you're in a low volume location that has employees walking in and out of the door, you're going to find out that probably 30% of your traffic count is really just an employee. Maybe them taking lunch breaks. It just becomes a really big number that traditional traffic counting systems can't catch, but ReBiz can. In addition to ReBiz's ability to track that individual attribution of traffic, as well as get your exact customer counts, they do a lot of things around time theft and buddy punching. You can jump into ReBiz. You can see that someone has clocked in for 40 hours, but they've only been in the store for 38. Are they working the correct days and correct times? How long the employees are in each stores? We had this at our last company where we found that district managers were visiting the stores that was closest to them, not necessarily the store that needed them most. And sometimes you'd see a district manager that was only spending 20% of their time in all of your stores. So really being able to take that, understand when they're visiting, is very important to leading your workforce. Aside from that, they have a whole compliance suite where you can get compliance alerts. Probably that your in-store staffing is too high for COVID, track incidents, assure accountability, and ultimately, as regulations change in the industry, they're able to help you manage that better. So, as you look at this slide and you know what Shiftlab does now, you can see how there's such a synergy between these two companies. And what we've heard time and time again is that customers really want to schedule to their traffic pattern, not just their sales pattern. And this partnership allows us to do that. And before I go into the demo, I just want to talk about how Shiftlab helps automate schedules with this traffic data and sales data. So to put it very simply, what we've done is we've studied top store managers for the last 2-3 years. And we've realized that, there are certain things that your best managers are doing when creating a schedule, and they're making it strategic. So if Shiftlab has this data for sales and traffic and employee performance, we can build automated schedules to where your team doesn't walk into a blank slate or copy last week's schedule over to this week. They're able to see, and coach to schedule changes that says, hey, maybe I can't take Saturday off because we have, 6 customers that we're going to see between 12 and 5. So what Shiftlab's automation does is it helps you build real-time sales-focused schedules, focusing on building, a really good schedule for your sales and traffic pattern, but also putting your top converter or your top salesperson in the top shifts. We help, when you go from someone, maybe it's a 4-person store down to a 3-person store, rather than just, removing that 4th person's shifts, you can click automate and we're going to build the best possible 3-person schedule in that store. We account for budgets and seasonality. So, our forecasts are really looking at sales trends year over year and for the past 3 to 4 years, as much data as we can get. But we also allow you to, optimize the way that our auto scheduling works according to the way that you need your budget to work. That could be that you're scheduling and you think that every employee can support $40 of sales an hour. It could also be with ReBiz that you think every customer can see 2, or every employee can see 2 customers per hour. And when we're building those shifts, we're looking at the ReBiz pattern and saying, okay, this is when we need to place that employee. Maybe we should shorten the shift. Maybe we should lengthen it. And then last but not least is regulating breaks. This is a big thing in lean retailers where you have a 2-person store and nobody takes breaks and you get overtime and everybody's leaving at 5 p.m. Whereas if you took a break during that slow time in the middle of the day, you would stretch that labor model out to be, instead of a 9 to 5, maybe a 9 to 6, and capture those sales and that customer traffic. So as we automate schedules, we are building breaks based upon your state regulation. We're putting them in the most opportune time, like when the store sales or traffic goes down, so that when you click that button, all of your regulations, all of your budget, your sales are all accounted for. So yeah, just a quick question that came through chat is, feel free, to just let us know if this feels like it's something that, you guys would utilize in as a combination for your dealers and your data, consolidating from, 2 systems really into one and viewing all of this in Shiftlab. So now we're just going to go into a demo and kind of walk you through the overview of Shiftlab as it is integrated with ReBiz. So to start, for those of you who have never seen Shiftlab, this is the main scheduling dashboard. This is where we really want to help teach your managers when they're doing something right and wrong. And it's comprised of a few things. One is that when you're a ReBiz customer, you can stack rank your employees based upon their boxes per customer, their payments per customer, their profit per customer. So if we came into this store, you have your top converter on top and you have your bottom converter on bottom. You're able to see down here now, instead of just seeing your gross profit pattern, we can show you traffic, we can show you boxes, metrics of your choice. So when we're looking at scheduling this store and we start to just build some shifts, which is very easy, we're just going to click and create a 9 to 5 shift. You see this yellow line start to build up. And ultimately the goal of that is to help you see, when you're building your schedule, how good of a schedule you're building. So let's just overstack Sunday. And you're going to see kind of a goose egg on Sunday here, where your team has given too much attention to it and is falling short on the other days of the week. Very simple. Ultimately, what we want to do is help your team just see, is my traffic and my scheduling really aligned here? Also, as a district manager comes in and views a store, they don't have to reference another tool or a PDF. They're able to look in one system and see everything they need to know. As you can see in this quick example of a schedule, the dark green shifts and yellow shifts. These are 2 different styles that we kind of show you. The dark green shifts are your highest traffic shifts of the week. So after you build that schedule, you can really see, hey, why does my 5th ranked employee have the highest traffic shift of the week? You can also see your slowest times of the week, whether that's to reduce hours or to assign operational duties during a specific time. Now, as I mentioned before with automation, and this is where we really think that the combination of this traffic data and Shiftlab will really be amazing for you, is we allow you to kind of set up your company's strategy as soon as we kick off. So you're able to say that a sales rep should work between 32 and 40 hours in a week. We'll never bring them in for a shift shorter than 7 hours, and we'll never keep them longer than 9 hours. You could come in here and say, hey, we really need our managers to work above 45 hours, and we're okay bringing them in for maybe a 4-hour shift or a 10-hour shift. You can even do part-timers. So kind of what we do is we take your data from our queue, we look at all of your roles, we have you tell us how you want those roles to work. You also can add additional settings, like we want to put a 30-minute break on shifts that are longer than 6 hours, as long as the person's not working alone. Maybe we want to try to have 2 closers on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And as Shiftlab is building those schedules, it'll look at that. It'll look at your store hours. It'll look at how much time each person needs to open a store and how much time they need to close a store. And essentially it empowers you to click this auto build button. So as we click auto build, all of those strategy things, your kind of compliance, your regulations, and most importantly probably is your sales data and your top employees are being crunched and building. Essentially Shiftlab is building the perfect schedule. So as you can see here, we got everybody to the right amount of hours that you want them to work. We built a very aligned schedule to the sales and traffic pattern. We took these dark green shifts, which I mentioned were the busiest ones of the week, and we gave them to the top converters or the top gross profit per visitor shifts. We accounted for days off and PTO and all those things that are standard for employee regulations. And ultimately, your team doesn't walk into a blank slate anymore. They walk into a finished schedule. Now they are able to look at, and adjust certain days, so they can click a shift, they can change it. We're really there for that foundation. And I'll tell you that one of the things that we see the most impact in, other than putting your top performers in the top shifts, is how we build the schedules uniquely to this business pattern. So what you'll see when Shiftlab builds schedules is it's looking and it's saying, when do we get our first spike of ReBiz traffic? And when do we get our last spike of ReBiz traffic? When should we send people home? When does the store just ultimately die down? And we build very specific shifts and breaks to this traffic pattern. I'm going to go ahead and pause right there and see if there's any questions that come through the chat, and then we will continue. Any questions that you've seen, maybe Isaac?
No, I haven't seen any questions come in yet.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So in addition to building a good schedule, one of the things that you'll see us talk about and Shiftlab is designed to do is to help you see what's happening in real time. A constant challenge that I've seen in the past, and I've seen through companies that we work with, is that you create a strategy and then your district managers don't have a lot of insight into how the week is going so far. And someone produces, an Excel report after payroll and tells you, hey, we had overtime and we weren't supposed to. So when you look at a current week in Shiftlab, this is where kind of the ReBiz data even comes more to life. We're essentially showing you what each person's conversion is beside their name. We're showing you that they were scheduled for 38 hours, but they're trending 40.5 so far. We help you see attendance details, like this person clocked out 13 minutes late, they opened the store late, they closed the store early, all of those things that are traditionally hard to get from your time clock. Shiftlab has there, and it's presenting to you on a daily, if not hourly basis. Down here, you can see your actual traffic count. So, this store it's been really seeing a lot of traffic in the first 3 days of the month so far, or first 3 days of the week. So you're able to see that. You're able to see how many hours the store is trending so far, and versus how many hours they've scheduled. So a lot of cool insights that are happening in the middle of the week, so that when your district manager pulls up to a store, ideally they're pulling out Shiftlab, they're seeing their ReBiz data, they're seeing who their top converters are. They can see when someone maybe worked a few more hours, but they're the #1 performer in the store, which is critical to coaching. In addition to ReBiz, one of the things that we released today, where I think that this is, it gives you a different perspective on scheduling, is we released a 4-week view of schedules. So rather than building a schedule for 1 week at a time, you actually can see your entire month schedule in Shiftlab. You could auto build a schedule for the next 3 weeks. You could copy the first week's schedule to the third, fourth, or the second, third, and fourth. In one view, you can see your entire month, where we can see right here that on Sundays, we continually schedule less. You can see that on the 12th, we scheduled, we didn't have the labor model to support the traffic. And you can see that in real time as it's coming through from RQ and ReBiz. You also can kind of collapse this view and just kind of see that maybe a manager is never working on a Saturday. This manager here has every single Saturday off, which maybe is not the way that your company has asked them to operate. And last but not least, this is more from just a Shiftlab perspective, but we really want to bring in this data to give you high-level reporting, so you can see, your traffic, how many customers each store is seeing per labor hour, and you might see that one store is, handling 2 customers an hour, and another store is handling 5 customers an hour, and that typically is an indicator that your staffing is too high or too low. We show you, how many employees are working each store, what your break utilization is, what your overtime is, how many hours you're working each employee, and a lot of really cool, foundational labor statistics again, coming in before, the Excel spreadsheets and payrolls are ran. We also make it really easy to track your attendance details. So you can click run right here. You can see how many stores have opened late, how many stores have closed early, how many auto punch outs we have. You can even click and view this down to employee basis and see if you have a consistent employee that's causing, maybe some customer experience issues by opening the store late or closing early. So highly flexible, utilizing ReBiz traffic. There's no additional cost to combine the two if you're using ReBiz today. And really exciting, that we can basically build automatically strategic schedules aligned to your budget, aligned to your ReBiz traffic pattern, and putting those top converters in the top shifts to maximize sales. The last thing that I'll mention is that Shiftlab is fully available on mobile. So we'll jump out of the demo right after this, but I just wanted to show you everything that we talked about today, even the leadership reporting that your district managers and VPs can use. Your manager can schedule from their phone. They can see everything that they need to see, attendance details, conversion, all of this data directly from their phone. They can even look to see their traffic and their gross profit pattern just by clicking in Shiftlab. They can auto build and say that we want to copy this schedule to the next 2 weeks. So fully functional from your iPad, from your phone, and from your computer. Now I'm going to jump back out to our slide deck real quick. And just open this up. If we could, we're going to take a couple minutes right now just for Q&A. So if you have any questions, please send them in chat. Happy to answer anything as easy or complex as it may be. So Jason Crane asked, how do employees clock in and out? So traditionally what we use is we use the IQ punch clock. So essentially as your team would start to schedule in Shiftlab, which would combine the ReBiz and the IQ metrics sales data and traffic data, but your team would keep punching in when they come into the store through their RQ platform, and we just take that data and provide it to you in Shiftlab so that you can take action on it. And then anybody from Tony, anything from your side? Okay, and then someone asked if we use ADP currently for clock in and clock out, will it pull over that? So yes, we can leverage ADP data. We just want to have a specific conversation with you and your organization, understand the way that you're set up, and take that punch clock from you directly, or from ADP, sorry. Any other questions? Getting some good ones, or anybody from the ReBiz team. Did I miss anything or anything you want me to touch on? While we're waiting for additional questions, I did want to note that we are basically a no IT organization. So what that means is because we've partnered with companies like ReBiz and IQ Metrics, we can completely stand up your account in a matter of days just by getting a signature. So, if you aren't currently a Shiftlab customer, an IQ Metrics data release form will let us start to load in all of your history, and we'll be able to pull in and show you where we would focus on and build your Shiftlab for you in just a matter of days. And if you're a ReBiz customer, we just have you sign one form and your data starts flowing into us. Jason asked, can we track sick call-ins and how many shifts they've been late to? Yes. So we track no-shows, which to me would be kind of a sick call-in. And we also show how many times that they've clocked in late, how many times they've opened a store late, which is a separate, measure. And all of those are kind of configurable to your specifications. Maybe you say that clocking in late is 1 minute. Once 1 minute has passed, we need to flag it. Or you could say that I'm going to let people clock in late as long as they're not the opener for 10 minutes late, and we do that specifically for you. Alex asked, will the boxes be pulled from RQ ReBiz, and will ReBiz flow in the traffic so traffic will be a couple days behind? So we pull a few metrics from RQ. ReBiz is sending us boxes, monitored boxes, and traffic. So if you wanted to see your box data on this graph, or you wanted us to forecast your boxes, you're going to get that data in every day, whether traffic is monitored or not. But to be identical to your portal, ReBiz is sending us files every day that are typically 2 days behind, that have your monitored traffic and the boxes that those people saw on that day.
Devin, I have a couple questions that were sent to me. One is, will
Okay.
the conversion reporting automatically show up on Shiftlab today?
Yes. So if you're, I guess, if you're a current customer, we're turning it on for you. If you're a future customer, yes, it's ready. And as soon as you sign up and sign a consent form for ReBiz, we will start to flow in your data.
Another question from anonymous attendee. Currently, scheduling via RQ takes significant time. Through automated scheduling, how much time can one expect to save? I'll start out by saying significant, but you can go ahead and follow up on that, Devin.
Yeah, I mean, what we see, we even see companies take the scheduling from their store managers and put it to their district managers, because their district managers just click a button now. We do focus on time reduction. We want to be very quick. That's why we have copy paste. We can copy weeks. We can drag and drop. The auto build, I mean, you can just imagine it. With RQ, you don't have the ability to copy and paste. You've got to click 5 buttons to create every shift. So if we automate this schedule, we save you hundreds of clicks, which usually leads to a couple things. One is that you might go from only being able to create schedules of 1 week in advance to now your team has the capacity to create 2 and 3 weeks in advance. Or two, we even see that the district manager takes more of a role and generates the schedule, and then is able to sit down over data when the store manager has some changes that they want to make, that says, hey, we really can't let you go home at 4 that day because we get a huge traffic spike at 5 or 6.
Yeah. And we had a shameless plug from an existing customer that stated huge time savings. Shiftlab is amazing. Do it. That was not from a Shiftlab employee.
Thanks, John.
Then we had another question from Ashley. ADP allows for benefits and HR pages. Can we see this in Shiftlab? Today, the answer is no. We are in the process of integrating with ADP in a variety of methods, is the easiest way of putting it. And as Devin stated earlier, it's probably best that we talk directly about what access we can gain through your relationship with ADP.
Yeah. So, and just to add on that, ultimately our product is driven by customer feedback. So far with the ADP, we've heard, hey, can you bring in my PTO shifts as soon as they're placed in ADP and things like that. So just talking to you and understanding your needs will help us better leverage the data that we get from them. Any other questions, Mitch?
Yes. With automation, when will we be able to have certain employees have specific days off?
Yeah. So with you can place a day off shift and time off shift. So if you place a day off or a PTO shift and then you click auto build, we don't remove those, we build around them. And here, I guess a sneak peek into our release in 2 weeks. We intend to bring in a full employee availability platform where you can say that this person is in college and has to leave at 3 p.m. every Thursday, and we'll block that off on the schedule automatically for you. So yes, we do schedule around some of the employee convenience factors, but we want to make it really clear to you when we're doing that, so that you as a leader or a district manager can jump in and see, is the schedule really good, or is the employee preferences getting in the way of sales?
We do have another question in the participant there, if you can see that, from another question from Rylan.
Let me.
Could you read it? Yeah, sure. Do you find most of your customers have their employees on hourly or salary? With salary employees, that would be a 40-hour week. It's hard to send them home as you are paying them anyway.
Yeah, well, that's why we allow you to configure it your way. So we do have some companies that have, if you had salaried employees like sales representatives, which we don't usually see, then you would be able to say that, hey, the minimum amount of hours that I want them to work is 40, and the maximum amount of hours that I want them to work is 40, and we're going to build a fully leveraged schedule. You could do the same thing for your store managers or for your part-timers. Everything is specific to the role, even to the extent where you could say, hey, I have store managers that are salaried. I want them working 45 hours a week, but I want to be really cost conscious on my sales rep, and I'm okay bringing them in for only 34 hours a week because of budgets. So it's really dynamic, and it's all set up by store that we do for you as you onboard. So your strategy should have, we've worked in wireless for over 10 years, and we've thought of a lot of the things, most of the things. So I'm sure that if we understood your strategy, we could just put that in the settings and you'd be all good.
Chris from Texas has a question here. How much weight is applied to ReBiz traffic data conversion rates for auto scheduling?
We don't. So I think what this customer is asking, or is basically, hey, do we look at gross profit for part of it, and do we look at traffic for the other part of it? Right now, we display both on the graph, where you can just toggle between them. But we do ask you to pick a couple. We do ask you to pick which metric you want us to schedule to. So if you said, hey, I want this store to schedule on traffic, and I want to place the top performer, who I consider the top conversion person in the top shift, that's, we're gonna look at both of those metrics as they stand today and build the best schedule with the data we have. I'm not sure if that answered your question. Happy to clarify if you have any additional questions.
One other question, which interesting question. Are new customers asked to upload individual employee pictures for facial recognition technology?
Tony from ReBiz, you tell me if I'm wrong in the chat, but from what I remember is that, essentially when you stand up ReBiz in your organization, ReBiz starts to capture those images of your employees automatically, and you do tell them that employee is Devin. And then when you tell them that employee is Devin, they're able to now take their Devin's RQ4 data and map it to that specific employee's traffic pattern. So you don't have to upload photos, but as you get a new hire in your organization, your district manager will get an alert saying, hey, who is this employee? Can you tell us who they are so that we can map their sales and traffic data accordingly? And then you just said, so just to clarify, so our new customers asked to upload employee individual photos? No. ReBiz essentially populates that for them. And then once you identify them once, ReBiz never asks you again and uses that for their facial recognition and sales mapping. All right, any other questions? Really good questions. I did put up just this last component, which is, please feel free to reach out to me directly, and just email me at devin@shiftlab.io if you're interested in either ReBiz or Shiftlab or the combined two. We really are lightweight, and typically, within a matter of a week, we're already introducing this to your managers. They're loving it because they're saving time and they can now see everything on their phone. And you have a lot of strategic vision into your business that you haven't had before. Last thing I'll touch on is just pricing for Shiftlab, as it may be new. I'm not sure on ReBiz's pricing exactly. Typically, Shiftlab is a per user, so per scheduled employee per month fee. We charge $7.95, which is typically less than 1 hour of bad scheduling in a month per employee. So, if you have a 100 employee organization, you're looking at about $795 a month. So pretty cheap compared to your labor bill. And then if you pay annually, there is a 10% discount. But I encourage you to reach out to us. Let us understand your specific scenarios, your company size, what groups you may be involved in, and we will be able to discuss pricing further individually. Mitch, anything I missed there?
No. Very good.
All right, well, just a couple more minutes, see if there's any other questions, and then we are good to go. All right, looks like we've got them all. Well, thanks everybody for your time. Really look forward to hearing from you. We will be sending out a recording of this webinar to anybody that's registered, even if they did not attend today. You'll be able to reply back to that email and get in contact with us directly, or just please email me at devin@shiftlab.io and we'll get you going. Thanks everyone. Have a great day.